Hi everybody, Steven here. Have you ever wondered how to manage certificates within VMware Cloud Foundation version 9? Well, that's what this video is about. Stick around and we'll see you in a bit. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. So in this video, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about how to manage certificates within VCF version 9. We'll take a look at what our options are. We'll also talk about what a certificate is real quickly. We'll talk about what a certificate authority is and what a CSR, certificate signing request, is. Just real fast, real basic stuff. And then we'll look at what our options are. Before I begin, I always like to do a shout out to those of you that subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel. Anybody who's giving out super thanks and anybody that's liked and left comments, again, all that stuff helps with the YouTube analytics. So please consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos. And I also have super thanks enabled, but that's totally up to you. So why don't we get started here? Okay, you can see that I am logged into VCF operations, and what we're going to do here is let's go and manage our certificates. Now, before I do that, let's get a couple terminologies out of the way. Why do we use certificates? There's two reasons. One, we use them to encrypt our communication between our devices, or between my browser and the endpoint, and two, to validate the identity of that endpoint as well. So to verify, yes, that is actually proper machine I'm talking to. So for example, over here, you see mine says it's not secure because it's using a self-signed cert. Let me connect to my NSX manager. I'm going to click on that. You see this connection is not private. Still using HTTPS, but it says, hey, this is a self-signed cert. This browser doesn't trust the certificate authority. Now, I'll talk about what that is. Let me just click on this here, and if I look at my certificate details, you'll see here, this was issued by, sorry, it's not letting me highlight it. There we go. It was issued by this CA, the Certificate Authority, and there you see a SA-vCenter, VCSA. That's my vCenter server. So inside the vCenter server, there's the Certificate Authority inside there, the vCenter Certificate Authority. Anyways, so my browser doesn't trust that. I can make my browser trust it if I want to, but that's not the point of this exercise, right? So by default, VMware is using self-signed certs. So in your organization, you're going to want to replace those. You're going to say, well, we want to make sure that we're talking to the proper machine and we're not getting spoofed or something like that. Somebody installed a machine there to impersonate another machine, right? So that's what certificates are for. Another thing that we need to know is we talk about, I mentioned the certificate authority. We need to understand that, and we need to understand certificate signing requests. Certificate authority is the one that issues the certificate, and there's a whole whack load of them out there in the public, and there's a bunch of them that are trusted, right? So let's say I'm going to set up a web server, and I'm going to sell widgets or whatever, okay? So I'm going to set up an online presence, and I'm going to have a shopping cart, and I'm going to have you folks buy stuff from me, let's say, right? Well, I want to make sure the stuff's encrypted, right? So I'm going to go and get a certificate. Now, if I use one of these self-signed certs, you're going to come up and see that thing you're not protecting. You're not going to buy anything, right? So I have to create what's called a certificate signing request, a CSR. That means I fill out this application, basically saying this is my server, this is the IP, blah, blah, blah. I fill out all this stuff. Then I send it out to a certificate authority that's trusted. So let's say it's VeriSign or whoever, right? Pay them the money, and then I would send that CSR to them, certificate sign request, and then they would generate a certificate and send that to me, right? Okay, then I would need to install that certificate in my web browser, and then at that point, when you go to my site, you'll see everything is fine, everything will be encrypted, and my browser would trust that, okay? So that's a certificate authority, that's what certificate signing requests are. Now let's talk about VMware Cloud Foundation. So when we go to, and again, that was just a very high level, there's all other stuff you need to know, public key, private keys, but for that's not the point of this video. So let's go into fleet management here, let's go into certificates. I want to point out a couple things here. First of all, when I select VCF management, this is looking at management components like operations, automation, VCF operations for logs, for networks, identity brokers. No, I don't have any of those other ones installed. I got operations and automation in my fleet management here. So I can actually manage my certificates. And you see over here, it'll tell me if there's any problems with any certificates up here, okay? Now, over here, now over here I can configure my certificate authority, right? So let's click on that, and you'll see I get a choice of Microsoft CA. That's it, okay? We'll come back to that. Let me cancel this. Let's go into my VCF instance. My VCF instance, I called it my VCF instance. I don't got much of imagination. When I click on that now, you'll see again, it shows me information about certificates and whatnot. But you'll see there's my NSX managers, my SDDC manager, my vCenter server. And if I want to see my hosts, ESX hosts, I would click on that. So there's two components here. There's the SDDC component that looks after the core components, SDDC manager, NSX, vCenter, and ESX. And then you have the VCF management, which is handled by fleet management for all the management stuff, any VCF operations, VCF automation, and so on, okay? Let's go back to my VCF instance. Let's go, and you see over here, configure CA. When I click on that, notice I get two options, Microsoft CA or OpenSSL. So with the SDDC manager, I could use the embedded OpenSSL if I want to. Now, this is still going to generate self-signed certs, and I would have to trust it in my environment. But again, that doesn't help me out when I talk about my management components, because this is only the core. So let's go in and set up the Microsoft. I've actually set up my environment for Microsoft CA. There is a documentation. I'm not going to walk through how to install that because there's other videos out there. And I'm not an expert on the Microsoft Certificate Authority in Active Directory, right? So let me actually show you something here. Let's open up the browser. Let's go into Google. Okay, let's type in setup Microsoft CA VCF9. Boom. Pretty straightforward. Okay. Then over here, one of the first things I see here, configure certificate authority for VMware Cloud Foundation. I'll click on that, and it comes over here, talks about configuring your cloud, your certificate authority. Now it says here, prepare your Microsoft certificate authority to allow VCF to manage certificates. So I'll click on that. And then from there, it'll tell you what to do here. So I can click on install Microsoft. It gives you instructions here. From here, it talks about setting up a user with basic authenticate or basic authentication for IIS. Then over here, it talks about creating a template. So all that stuff has to be done on your Microsoft CA, okay? And that's not the point of this video. This is showing you how to manage certificates within this. So I'm going to use my CA here, and I'm going to type in my https://ns1.class.edu/cert-server. That's what I set up. My username here is going to be vcf@vclass.edu, and I'll type in my password. And then I'm going to type in my template I created called VCF. And I'm going to save this. And I think I did all that right. There we go. So it's set it up. Guess what? Let's go into the management now. Let's go into management. Let's click on configure CA. And we see it's we got to do that one there as well. So let's type that in. https://ns1.vclass.edu. That's my certificate. Oh, I forgot to put in the /serve. Then the username, did it remember? Yes, it did. And then my password. And then my template, I had VCF. Perfect. I'm going to save that. Boom. So this CA is going to be generating certificates for me. Now, again, in your environment, if you're using this, it has to be set up and trusted in your environment, okay? Or else it's still going to issue non-trusted self-signed certs. So somebody probably in your security environment would set that up. And there's all kinds of videos and documentation on Microsoft's site telling you how to trust your own CA, all right? So let's go in here now. Let's go in. Let me do a host first. Let me, because that's kind of the easiest one. I'll go into my management domain. I'll view my host. So right now, there's my host one. So let's click on that. Now, before I do that, let's go to host one. And again, I get this error here. Okay, I'm still going to get the error. It doesn't matter. Let's click on not secure. Let's look at the certificate. And you'll see, again, there's the common name for it. Organizations, VMware Engineering, the certificate authority, same kind of stuff. So that's the default certificate it has. Great. Let's close that. Let's close that. Let's create a certificate signing request. So let's go to here. Generate certificate signing request. Notice the common name here, defaulted to that. Great. What's my organization? Well, my organization is Tech Unglued. What's the unit? Education, let's say. What country? Well, I'm in Canada, so let's scroll up to Canada there. And then I am in Ontario. Oh, sorry, right here. Ontario, and then I'll say Toronto. I'm not in Toronto, but anyways, yeah, let's pick Toronto. And then the email address, I'll leave that email. The host name, and then if there's any other subject alternative names, maybe IP addresses, or again, if this host goes by anything else, you would put that in there. And you'll see the key size here, and the default's 2048. I'm going to save this. So right now it's generating that certificate signing request. We're going to let that run through, okay? Now, let me pick another host. Let me pick host 2, and let me go and say replace certificate with configured CA. Remember, I configured my Microsoft CA, right? So let's say replace that. It's going to come out and give me an error. To replace a configured certificate, make sure to generate a CSR first. So that's why I did that on that first host. Now, what other options do we have here? We have download CSR. Okay, actually, forget it. It's still doing its thing. It's finished. Let's go in now and we'll replace. Replace with configured CA. So I'm going to go, okay, replace in your certificate can cause disruption in operations if there's a change in the certificate. I'm going to say confirm. I'll explain that in a second. So it's going out and replacing it right now. What they meant by that is if you are connected to that host right now with the browser, and then while you're connected, I replace a certificate, your browser's not going to like it. It's going to say, hey, halfway through something happened, the certificate changed, and you'd have to probably disconnect or reconnect to it, okay? As for VMs running and stuff, your VMs continue to run. Now, this can take a few minutes to do. I'll explain a couple of these other things. So all I did was generate my certificate signing request, and I said configure and replace it with my CA. What are these other options? Why would I download my certificate signing request? So you've got a couple options when it comes to managing certificates in VCF. You could use Microsoft CA. You could use OpenSSL for the core components, all right? Or if you don't want to use any of those, you could use a third-party certificate authority. Maybe you've got in your environment some other third-party CA. No problems. You could do that, right? It's a little bit more work, but again, I would still generate my CSR, but now I would download that certificate signing request. Once I've downloaded it, I would send it or upload it to my third-party CA, certificate authority. They would validate that information, then send me the certificate. I would then go import certificate, right? I would click on this and import my certificate here, okay, and validate it. I'm going to cancel that. Once it's been imported, I would then go replace with imported certificate. So you see there's a lot more steps involved there, okay, when you're using the third-party CA, all right? So you still see this thing is still kind of churning away. And I would have to do this on all these hosts. Now, there's another option here, which is really nice once you get everything all set up. Once you're using, let's say, Microsoft CA, you can say, where are you? Oh, I actually don't see it right now. Let's go back up to here. Okay. And let me get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. And it's still doing this thing. Right over here, activate auto-renewal. And again, I could do that both for my management components and my core components. So there it changed. I can click on activate auto renewal and it'll come up and say, and basically what that does for you is you don't have to worry about certificates expiring, which would be a bad thing. This will automatically renew your certs for you. So this again is the advantage of using, let's say, a certificate authority like Microsoft, for example, okay? Like I said before, the OpenSSL is only for the core components, all right? So let's cancel this. Let's go back into my management here. You see my host 1. Notice over here, type, it changed, okay? It's now a Microsoft Certificate Authority, right? And the other ones I haven't changed. Those are all the defaults. Let's go back into here. Let's go back to host 1. You still get that because, again, I didn't set up my browser to trust my Microsoft CA. That's a separate topic on its own, right? But let's take a look here, right? Let's look at the certificate. And you now see, again, that stuff is different now. There's my, it was issued by this computer. That's my certificate authority. And, again, I didn't put any stuff inside there on that certificate authority, all right? That's pretty much about it. I would just repeat that process for all my hosts, my NSX, and my management components, right? A little bit manual at first, but then afterwards, that's pretty much about it. I think that's about it, folks. I hope you enjoyed the video. Share, like, and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.